The battle lines have been drawn. There is no turning back. This is WWF InVasion in my 2001 year in review. What is up, everybody? This is InVasion live from the Gunda Arena in Cleveland, Ohio, July 22nd, 2001. This is where, just a couple of months ago, just a couple of months before, where Shane McMahon announced on Nitro that he bought WCW, where Vince McMahon was on Raw in that same damn arena. This is where the quote-unquote invasion started, but it really started about like a month ago. So what is this invasion going to be? But before I talk about the damn show, I got to talk about this awesome buy rate that they got. They got something like 700,000 buys. 700,000 pay-per-view buys. It is the largest pay-per-view buy rate that isn't a Big Four pay-per-view. No other non-Big Four pay-per-view ever did anywhere close to this show. 700,000 buys. Which, for a non-Big Four pay-per-view, even for a non-WrestleMania, because there's many SummerSlams out there that, even in the biggest, that didn't even get 700,000. So being a non-WrestleMania show, period, that's a gigantic number. Why? Because just the selling point of WWF versus WCW, and ECW thrown in there, this was going to be a big deal. Just in name only, it sold the pay-per-view. Could you imagine how big of a number that could have been if you got the NWO, if you got Goldberg in there? I digress. Let's talk about this show. And every single damn Alliance member just looks so weak in every single fucking match. And I'll explain how. We open up the show with Edge and Christian defeating Mike Awesome and Lance Storm in a pretty decent opening match. Good tag team. Of course, Edge and Christian have been having problems, and soon enough they will be turning on each other in the coming weeks. By September, they're long gone. They're long since disbanded. So even a team that are having problems still manages to beat Mike Awesome and Lance Storm. Whatever. A 6 out of 10. Then we get to the worst pay-per-view match in WWF at this point before I get to talk about that next match. Oh boy. This is the worst up until that match. It's Earl Hebner versus Nick Patrick in the Battle of the Referees, with Mick Foley as the special referee. Even the WCW referees, even those referees look like shit. You know, even those referees. Why couldn't you get the ECW referee in there? What was his name? John Finnegan? Why couldn't he got in this match and helped out Nick Patrick or something? This is a shitty match. It's funny as hell, but it's still shitty. A 0. A dud. It's not the worst pay-per-view match. It's probably like number 2 or 3, and I'll talk about it. Next up, we have Bradshaw and Farouk, the APA, defeating the Natural Born Thrillers, which is I always get mixed up. Which is Sean O'Hare and Chuck Palumbo. Natural Born Thrillers are the WCW Tag Champs, and the APA are the WWF Tag Champs. And honestly, I thought the Natural Born Thrillers really should have won this, but of course they didn't. The APA wins, and now they're up 3-0. I give it a 5, but man, I gotta tell you this. Sean O'Hare, Chuck Palumbo, you know, speaking of Chuck Palumbo, I just realized something. If you really think about it, besides Booker T and Rob Van Dam, you look at Chuck Palumbo, he has had the 3rd longest longevity from the Alliance. Can you believe that? Think about that for a moment. Chuck fucking Palumbo of the entire alliance had the third longest longevity. Oh, it's true. It's damn true. The Billy and Chuck. That lasted a whole nother year afterwards. He got a lot of TV time out of that shit. He was, always on Velocity, always on Heat, and then he went back, and then he came back with that fucking American Badass ripoff character he had. Third longest longevity, if you want to believe it or not. A 5. Next up, Billy Kidman, the WCW Cruiserweight Champion, defeats X-Pac, the Light Heavyweight Champion. Well, and at least an Alliance member gets the win. So, why can't the APA take a loss? No. Well, X-Pac can take a loss. Whatever the fuck. X-Pac still gets X-Pac sucks chance. This gets a 5.5 out of 10. I have to be sure to note this, that none of the Alliance members are getting any kind of ovation up until we get to Rob Van Dam. Next up, Raven defeats William Regal with the help of fucking Taz. So you're telling me Raven, the former, 3-time ECW World Heavyweight Champion, a United States champion, the leader of the Flock, the leader of whatever group it was in ECW, tag team champion, he can't even beat William Regal on his own. No, he has to take Taz, the other former ECW champion, and he has to have his help to beat William fucking Regal. Why can't William Regal just take a clean loss? He's the heel commissioner of the WWF, for fuck's sakes. Why can't he take a loss? A 2 out of 10, just a bad match. Just stupid match. Top 10 worst pay-per-view match of 2001. Just bad. 2 out of 10, being generous. He has to have... So you're mean to tell me it takes 2 ECW World Heavyweight Champions to beat William Regal. Fuck that. Next up, we have Chris Kanyon, Hugh Morris, and Sean Stasiak defeating the Big Show, Albert, and Billy Gunn. Well, so you're telling me, Kanyon, who's DDP's bitch, Morris, or Huge Erection, and the guy in the bright pink tights, and the guy ripping off Mr. Perfect's music again, can defeat Big Show, a former WWF champion, Albert, and Billy Gunn, who was renounced as one of the most underrated Attitude Era stars ever. But, yes, they did win. That should be a big thing, right? This match was shitty, but I'm going to tell you why this win didn't matter. Sure, they tied it up. Now it's 3-3. I give this match a 1 out of 10. Definitely a top 10 worst pay-per-view matches. But the reason why they really didn't win is because Big Show whipped their asses afterwards. They just barely got the pin, and then they got their asses whipped. So they really didn't fucking win. So it took 2 ECW champions to beat William Regal, and then you have 3 Hammenegers getting their asses kicked by Big Show even though they won the match. You can see why people didn't like the invasion. Next up, we have Tajiri defeating Taz. Tajiri, who should be on the Alliance. I don't understand why he isn't on the Alliance. He would be a very nice, good, popular star. He could go in there, with the other ECW guys to help out the Alliance. Him and Perry Saturn really should have been on the Alliance. But he defeats Taz. Taz, who has got his ass kicked and embarrassed by Jerry Lawler the year before, who has been a jabroni ever since facing Triple H from SmackDown like a year and a half prior to this. This is a fine match, but Taz really should have whipped his ass. A 5 out of 10. I don't understand why Tajiri and Perry Saturn weren't on the Alliance. I mean, just to kind of beef up their roster. I mean, you're not doing anything with Perry Saturn other than doing the moppy shtick, which is going on at this point. Then we get match of the night by far, Rob Van Dam versus Jeff Hardy for the Hardcore Championship. This is a damn fine match. And Rob Van Dam is really the only guy in the Alliance that actually looks good, that is actually getting pushed. And why? Well, the fans fucking doing it. That's why. If Rob Van Dam wasn't the ovation that he got, then he wouldn't be main event pay-per-views later on. He main events No Mercy. He main events No Mercy in a WWF title match. So, Rob Van Dam is easily by far the most popular star of the Alliance. No doubt about it. And it's not just because it's Rob Van fucking Dam, but it's because, really, by the time The Rock comes back, Booker T's a jobber, and DDP is a fucking stalker. Why would you want to cheer for that? So Rob Van Dam's the only guy getting any sort of response, any sort of positive response, let alone. And he gets a big ovation. This match gets an 8 out of 10. The Van Daminator off of the stage. Now, this stage is very weird because there's a pit. There's a pit because you have the WWF guys coming out in one entrance, and on the other end of the stage, on the other end of the platform, you have WCW and ECW guys coming out. So then they come in like this to the ring. And so there's a giant hole in the stage. And Jeff Hardy goes right into the hole. Very nice spot. This is a good match. An 8 out of 10. Trish Stratus and Lita defeats Tori Wilson and Stacy Keibler in a tag team bra and panties elimination match. This is a bad match. But, I mean, for God's sakes, you get to see Tori Wilson. You get to see her butt cheeks. You get to see Stacy Keibler's butt cheeks. You get to see some nice stuff in this match. Mick Foley's the special referee. Again, I guess. Why the fuck not? You know, I would give this a 0, but it gets a 2 out of 10. Why it gets a 2 out of 10? I mean, it's Tori Wilson and Stacy Keibler almost naked. So good stuff there, of course. 2 out of 10. And then we get the Alliance versus the WWF. The Alliance, which consists of Rhino, the Dudley Boys from ECW, Diamond Dallas Page, the Stalker. And by the way, I'm going to call him the Stalker every fucking time, just so you are reminded every fucking video of how stupid that sounds. And Booker T. And they defeat Undertaker, Kane, Chris Jericho, Kurt Angle, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, half of this match, this match goes on. This match takes up about 50 minutes, but half of that's because of entrances, and they're damn fine entrances. I mean, when Stone Cold comes out and starts whipping ass, the crowd goes nuts. But I have a big problem with this match. The Alliance members still look like shit. This is like their top guys. This is the toppest of the top guys. But look at these guys. Look at these stars you have. And then look at WWF's team. I mean, you got Steve Austin. You got Kurt Angle. You got The Undertaker. You got Jericho. And you got Kane. And then look at these WCW, ECW guys. I mean, you got Booker T and Diamond Dallas Page, but DDP's a fucking stalker. Who cares about that? You have the Dudley Boys, who's been multiple time WWF Tag Team Champions, been in the WWF for 2 years at this point. Doesn't make really that much sense. Rhino, who just started in the WWF. Sure, he's an ECW champion, but he's brand new to the scene, so he's brand new to the WWF crowd. These guys probably don't even know him that well. So, you can tell this is definitely a pro-WWF crowd. I mean, but look at this. Steve Austin, Kurt Angle, Undertaker. Oh my goodness. It's just star power's up here, and then star power's down here. Barely. This match is very good, but the Alliance members look like shit. Why? Because they break up every fucking pin. So, not even the toppest of the top Alliance members can kick out of a normal fucking move. And they break up every fucking time. Sure, the WWF stars, they're breaking up pins too, but they break it up when it's absolutely critical. These guys are breaking up pins every fucking time. Now, you can argue and say, well, they're just desperate. They want it even more. And they'll break it up even if they don't really have to. But they look weak because they can't even kick out normal fucking moves. I give this a 7.5 because of the magnitude of this match, because of the importance of this match. This is a good match. Undertaker and DDP, the Stalker, they beat the shit out of each other on the outside, so we don't see them anymore. King gets tossed to a table. Jericho gets tossed to a table. Bubba Ray and Devon, they're out. So it just leaves between Kurt Angle and Booker T. Kurt Angle hits the Olympic Slam on Booker T. And then Steve Austin does the unthinkable. Hits a stunner on Kurt Angle. And then has Booker T pin Kurt Angle. Jim Ross goes crazy. Goes mad. And Stone Cold Steve Austin joins the Alliance. So at least the Alliance wins their big match. At least it's not like the Nexus years later where they didn't win their match. So at least the Alliance won their match. I mean, they needed Stone Cold Steve Austin to turn on their own team in order to win. But hey, hey, 6-on-4. Why the fuck not? At least they won their match, unlike the fucking Nexus. A 7.5, and that's being incredibly nice. I should really give it a 6, and it really does piss me off a lot. Overall, WWF InVasion is InVasion in name only. It's WWF versus WCW and ECW in name only. And if the Alliance and the Invasion angle did not jump the shark already multiple times over, when I get to SummerSlam, that shark has turned into millions of sharks. And it's impossible to take that jump. Now, they're Evel Knievel. So I'll catch you next time for WWF SummerSlam. Let the bodies hit the floor. And I say let the boobies hit the floor. Overall rating gets a 4.2 out of 10. It's a mediocrity of a show. And quite frankly, this show should have been the greatest thing of all time. Did get a big irate, but that's because the brand name itself sold out. Catch you next time for SummerSlam. Goodbye.